today's video, I want to go over an interesting way that I use SP Detach DB and SP Attach DB to address a situation that we were having. So here's the situation. We have a server that we're in a temporary disk squeeze situation with. This server is going to be decommissioned, and we can't really add any more drives to the server. All the bays are maxed out. So we needed to get some temporary space from another server. So what we did was we tricked SQL Server into thinking the files were local using symbolic links. So we created at the operating system level, we created some symbolic links that pointed to another drive on another server. And then we granted the necessary privileges so that SQL Server instance could read and write to those locations. So during server reboots, uh, over a maintenance weekend, there was patching going on, so the servers were being rebooted. Well, this symbolic link became unavailable and corrupted. So what was happening was that when SQL Server came back online, it was referencing these symbolic links that were corrupt, and they were pointing someplace else. Because when we looked at the databases, we looked at the tables, they weren't even the same tables. So it was like a invalid reference to the file. And this is not a supported situation with Microsoft to be using these symbolic links, but we're kind of backed into a corner, and that's why we're using them. The other problem we had, and our initial idea is, well, if we reboot, maybe this will fix itself, but we weren't in a situation where we could afford to do a reboot. The server hosts, over 100 other different databases, while we had this problem only on 10 of the databases. So we really wanted to avoid rebooting. So that was the situation, and so we're kind of backed into a corner. Didn't want to reboot the server. Got 10 databases we can't access. So what do we do? So the idea originally, what we wanted to do was just, hey, let's just restore one of the databases and make sure we can access the necessary tables. And so we did that. Restore took about 30 minutes for one of the databases. We wanted to make sure that we could write to that location and that, everything was sane after it. So we did the restore, went into the database, verified that the correct tables were there. And so we thought, okay, well, looks like whatever situation we have with this symbolic link has been resolved. But we didn't want to have to restore 9 more databases at 30 minutes a pop. We had 9 more to go. We wanted to avoid that. So the idea was, well, maybe we could just detach and attach the existing database files, and maybe that'll work. So we decided to try detaching and attaching. Again, we're going to go and just do one database first, see if it works, and then go proceed with the rest of them if it does. So here's the syntax for what we're talking about. We're going to detach the database. So you're going to change your database context to master. You're going to run store procedure, sp detach db, and you give it the database name. And then after you've got it detached, you can attach with the create database command for attach. And in this case, we're giving it the file name. So this is our symbolic link. We had C SQL data, and we gave it the database name, data file for the master data file, and then the file name for the log file, which actually was not on the symbolic link. And then you just say for attach. And after we did it on the first database and did the test, we were able to access the correct tables in the database, and we were able to conclude that, hey, this in fact worked. And, just a side note, in our case, these databases were actually an availability group. So we had an extra step before detaching the database, in that we had to remove the database from the availability group before we detached and attached. And then afterwards, we had a follow-up activity of adding the databases back into the availability group. But it worked, and saved a lot of time and got the system up and running again. So as I said before, this wasn't a normal usage of detach and attach. Your normal usage of these functions is to move a data file or data files to new locations. So the process is basically similar to what we did. You detach, and then you actually do a move via the OS. So you move the files to the new location, and then you reattach as we did. But in our case, there was no movement. We didn't do that second step. So there was no need to move the files via OS commands. We were just reestablishing the connection to the data files. So what we, in effect, what we did was we basically had SQL Server go back out and reopen that file. And before we did that, it was actually opening a file in some other location because of the symbolic link that we had in place. And that's it for today's video. I'm glad you guys were able to join me today. Thanks for watching. Please like if you liked and you learned something, and consider subscribing to the channel. It was just a real interesting situation that we got ourselves into, and I figured I'd share with you guys. Just kind of an example of maybe thinking a little beyond what the manuals will tell you. Sometimes you just have to experiment and try things and see if they work. And in this case, they did. So talk to you later. Bye.